What's happening off to our north and west. We're trying to pull in some moisture into our area, but it's just not having a lot of success. And that's kind of what I expect for the rest of the day today. Is maybe we get a few drops by the time we get toward midday and into the afternoon in the metro. If you're in Columbus, you may get a couple flurries or sprinkles this morning, but nothing that's going to be accumulating by any stretch of the imagination. This is mostly just going to dry up as we continue through the day. Then you can see what we've got that we're watching in this direction, but it's just not all that heavy. So as we proceed through the morning, we start off right near the freezing mark for our temperatures. We'll continue to step those temps up despite the cloud cover. We'll be right near 50 by midday, and as we get into the afternoon, you're going to start seeing a few more of those specks of green showing up here and there. That's what I'm talking about with some of these sprinkles that we'll be seeing through the afternoon. Nothing to cancel any outdoor plans over. It'll be fine. Just be prepared for that as a possibility. We still get up to about 61 for a high this afternoon, so still a pretty solid day that we end up seeing. We head into the nighttime hours after a bit of a break in the evening. I think we bring another wave of cloud cover in, and there's the chance that we try to spit a few sprinkles out of this as well as we go through the overnight hours. But again, that's the extent of it. Nothing to get too worked up about. As far as our wind goes, we head through today. That stays quieter. At worst, we get gusts up around 15 miles per hour. We'll turn that wind around to the northwest as we head through the nighttime hours, and then we will get more of a wind for Tuesday. It's not as strong as yesterday, but some gusts in the afternoon that get up around 30 miles per hour. Certainly something that we could be seeing as we go through our PM hours Tuesday. Well, actually drive our temperatures up some. We'll be into the 60s again, mid 60s though, instead of the low 60s that we have on the way for today. And a nice solid day for our Wednesday too, 63 with some cloud cover around. And it is going to be a stretch that is just a little bit above average. We're talking about our average high being mid 50s. So when you're talking 60s, that's a W.
All right, big win over there. In the meantime, as we're now officially in the spring season, we're going to feel more like we're in the spring season. Hopefully done with the blizzard stuff.
Yeah, it's a much better week overall. And I showed you those 60s. That's just the start of the warming that we're going to be seeing. So we're getting a little bit more into almost early summer weather as we head toward our Thursday and our Friday. And that includes 70s for Thursday, near 80 for a high on Friday. Now, alongside that, we are going to have some systems that make their way through. We get into Wednesday night, and we'll have a chance for some scattered light showers. Nothing that adds up to too much, but something that we may carry into our Thursday morning. That system leaves. That allows us to warm up into those 70s. By the time we get to Friday, we're at your 80 degrees. After that, we get the chance for a couple scattered showers and storms that'll be around. So that's something Friday evening for Slurry 2. And then it's trending soggy for our Saturday. Now, as we get closer, the resolution will get a little better, and you'll see that this isn't just a total washout of a day, but we will have showers and storms around off and on as Saturday goes on. So keep that in mind. And then I'm about to show you the worst case scenario. So I can hear everybody exhaling already as I do this. Whoa, oh my gosh. Nope, that's the worst case scenario where we see some rain snow mixture off to the north of the metro, maybe even switching to a wet snow by Sunday morning. Some models have this all as rain, so it's a matter of where does the track of the system end up landing as to what we end up seeing. But first alert that it does look busier as we head into the weekend, and there is that potential that some of us may see some of the white stuff falling as we get toward our Sunday morning. Overall though, we look at the 10-day forecast. Even if that does end up happening, you're going to notice the temperatures in the 50s during the day, so that wouldn't stick around very long. That's one benefit of this time of year. If that does happen, it's not a very long-lasting issue that we see. And the end of next week, we're talking 50s and 60s for our highs. So again, some nice spring-like weather as we're turning the page into April.
I'm loving it. Okay, now today traffic's going to look a little different because a lot of school districts are going back to school after spring break.
We had a lot of schools that were out of session last week. So OPS, Bellevue, Elkhorn, many other ones are back in the classroom today. So be prepared for it to be busier on your commute than it may have been last week. Now we do have Council Bluffs has gone on to spring break this week, so not everybody in the classroom, but it is going to be busier. So keep that in mind. you're looking at some of our cameras, you can see that being the case as you're getting your 90th and West Dodge from our Children's Nebraska camera. And overall, you just have a lot more vehicles that will be present. That's mostly not resulted in too much in the way of issues so far. We did have some delays that were showing up westbound I-80 to go to 144th. That has improved over the last 10 minutes or so. Well, keep an eye on that area as one that could give us issues as we continue through the morning. Aside from the busier traffic, a couple of other things of note. One-lane travel starting today eastbound on Farnham as you're approaching Saddle Creek. That's going to be in place for the next 5 weeks. Be ready for that. And a new closure on Farnham as well. This is 34th to 33rd. That starts today. Unfortunately, I don't have information on how long that one lasts, but this is just the latest in a stretch of a lot of construction that's happening in that part of the metro. Zoom things out and you can see that it's mostly smooth sailing on the roads. A little slowdown starting to show up on eastbound Dodge as you get right around 144th, 156th. That will probably grow here over the next half hour or so. That fits right in line with a little bit of some sunshine that's out there trying to get through those clouds. We'll have some peaks at times today, and that just appears to be the case right as we're getting traffic heading eastbound on Dodge. So some sun glare could be an issue for those drivers, and then just the fact that there's a lot more drivers.
Yeah. Okay, Jared, thanks. Omaha police have discovered a wild scene. One car on top of another in a construction zone. Now the driver who died has been identified. He is 44-year-old Francisco Hernandez Martinez. Investigators believe the two cars drove into the construction zone at separate times and ended up in the same hole. The driver of that other car was booked for DUI.
Omaha police say a motorcyclist died in a crash over the weekend. This happened at 55th and Center. An investigation found 35-year-old Cavondo Davis was headed east on Center when he missed a curve and slid into a parking lot.
Well, Council Bluffs police are searching for a man they say shot a gun at a building. This happened at the O-Face bar over the weekend. Police tell us the man became upset and revealed he had a gun while inside that bar. He then reportedly went outside, fired at the side of the building, and then took off. Nobody was hurt. Police say the suspect, though, is still at large.
Well, preparing ahead of time can make all the difference when it comes to staying safe during severe weather.
Now, leaders are highlighting some key reminders this week. Our Marie Kate has a first alert to those at the safety desk.
His time. Severe weather makes its way through the heartland each year, and you can never be too prepared. Now, this week is Severe Weather Awareness Week, and today we want to share some tips with you on how to stay safe if something were to ever happen. For more on this, I do want to bring in our first aid expert, Brad Greer. Brad, thanks so much for being here today. I want to start, can you tell everybody what is that first thing, that key thing that people should know when it comes to their safety in severe weather?
Well, always have first aid kits handy. Most of your viewers probably don't, but have one kit for every two folks in your household. And if you have more than one level in your home, have those first aid kits on each level, including the basement or the upper level. Also have those first aid kits in your automobile where they're reachable and you can have access to them in case you're stranded in your automobile in severe weather.
Now, here in Nebraska, we experience a lot of different types of severe weather. We just had a blizzard the other day. Tornadoes, of course, very common in this part of the country. Do you find that people are not taking the necessary precautions in order to prepare for weather like this?
Yes, generally speaking, you know, your viewers are reactive rather than proactive. So it's all about being proactive. Have a family meeting and have an emergency plan in order. So if there is severe weather, you act on that plan and you keep yourself and your loved ones safe.
Why is it so important to be prepared in this way rather than react afterwards, like you were saying?
Well, you may not have your first aid kit handy or these food items or bottled water ready, and you could put yourself and your family or loved ones at harm if you're not prepared.
Brad, is there anything else our viewers should know about this before we wrap up?
Well, yeah, there's a couple other items. You know, have an emergency whistle with you, especially in your automobile. That way, if you're stranded on a roadway due to severe weather, you've slipped off the road somehow, you can blow that whistle and let emergency personnel know that you're there and you need their assistance.
Well, thanks so much again for being here today, Brad. Of course, this entire week is Severe Weather Awareness Week, and we will have all this information for you up on our website, firstalert6.com. We'll send it back to you.
I do like the idea of having that whistle in the car just in case.
Yeah, that's a new one. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, coming up, the latest outage numbers from OPPD after last week's major storm.
That plus more weather from Jarrett when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. A beautiful look outside as the sun begins to rise. Isn't that nice? So I don't know if you just heard Jared, but that sun glare has been a problem. So remember to grab those sunglasses. Hopefully that'll help for the drive-in. As for the weather, we're going to do a little trade. We're going to trade in the sunshine that we had yesterday. And we're getting some clouds, but we're not going to have as much wind.
Yeah, I'd take that trade.
I think I'm going to take that trade too.
Yeah, and we're even getting a little preview of some sun that we won't keep around all day. So enjoy that while it's out there right now. It is going to be a day where we lean more toward the gray end of the spectrum. But again, lighter winds, pretty seasonable temps, a lot to like about how we go through the day today. Even by the time we get toward our Thursday and our Friday, we're going to start stepping those temperatures up. 70s for our Thursday and right near 80 degrees Friday, with maybe a little bit more going on by the time we get to the weekend. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But here's where we stand right now, 33 degrees. We've got some sun peeking through the clouds and almost no wind in place. And as we work our way through the day today, we'll go from those kind of temperatures right near the freezing mark and ramp up to about 61 for our high. We will have a fair amount of cloud cover around during the course of the day, and even the chance for a few sprinkles as we go through the afternoon. Not going to be anything that would impact any outdoor activity too greatly, but something to keep in mind if you're going to be out and about. Don't be caught off guard if you do feel a drop or two. Winds will stay calmer. Maybe some gusts up around 15 miles per hour as we head our way through the day today. And then those even back off overnight, but we will turn the direction to the northwest. And as that happens, we'll start to pick things up, especially as we get toward the afternoon on our Tuesday. Some gusts up around 30 miles per hour. That's nothing as strong as yesterday, but it is going to be notable. You'll definitely feel that going on as we head our way through our Tuesday. Thankfully, temps will be up into the 60s, so it won't be felt that much. There's what the temps do the rest of the week. Still in the 60s for Wednesday. Very solid day for Wednesday. Cloud cover around, but into the 60s. There's the 70s for our Thursday, Friday near 80, and our average high's at 56. So this whole stretch is above average that we're talking about. Not really seeing any dips as we head through the work week. So good news there. There's the sprinkles I mentioned for the rest of the day today. We work our way into what we see for our Wednesday night. After that cloud cover, we get a couple spotty showers overnight. That lasts into our Thursday morning. That departs. We get dry weather for Thursday during the day, Friday during the day. In the evening, maybe a couple of spotty storms become possible, something to keep in mind. And then it does trend a little more toward wet weather by the time we get to our Saturday. And we'll be watching this system pretty closely. The track has kind of varied a fair bit as we've made our way through the weekend with this, and so that does impact what we end up seeing. Some models want us to have just soggy weather out of this and that's it. Some try to maybe mix in some flakes off to the north of the metro. Some turned it to full wet snow. This is like worst case scenario that we'd be seeing out of this one, but keep in mind, this is the time of year, even if this does happen, this won't stay around very long. So first alert to this possibility. We'll keep you posted as we get closer. Still far enough out that this is not going to be something that you need to be panicking over, but be aware that that's something that is on the table. In the meantime, lots of mild temps. Even at night, you're seeing 30s, 40s, 50s, those temps stepping up all along that way. So that's a pretty solid week of weather, if I do say so myself.
All right, getting the spring more so. It's only Monday, but we can already talk about the weekend. How's that looking?
Yeah, with that system that brings the wet weather around, that will impact our temps too. So you'll notice we go from the 80 degrees that we see for Friday into the 60s for highs for Saturday, and we're going to struggle to get back to 50 for a high on Sunday with some of that wet weather around. As we make our way through next week, though, as I mentioned, it's the time of year where we get some quick recoveries, 50s and 60s on the way for our highs. Maybe a little bit of a busier pattern too. We're trying to pull some more moisture into the area. We do still have a drought, so that would not be the worst thing if that does happen.
Okay. In the meantime, Jared, thanks. Happening today, the suspect in a 9-year-old case that sparked an international manhunt is expected to face a judge in Omaha.
That's right. Eslin Mejia was accused of street racing in 2016 when he rear-ended a car at an intersection. After 4 days in jail, he posted bond and has been on the run ever since. Mejia was arrested in Honduras last month, and he is currently in custody at the Douglas County Jail. Now, the victim was Sarah Root. The 21-year-old Council Bluffs woman had just graduated from Bellevue University. A law named in her honor passed earlier this year. It closes a loophole requiring ICE to detain certain undocumented immigrants who've been charged with a crime. If convicted, Mejia could face up to 20 years in prison.
A first alert now to improving conditions as electrical crews work to get the lights back on. We're about 5 days removed from that major storm last week. This is a live look at the OPPD outage map that shows around 4,100 customers without power. In all, the company expects to replace about 1,200 poles, saying this outage is the largest blow to infrastructure they've ever had.
And a reminder from the Douglas County Health Department, in wake of the recent power outages, the department says you should toss out things in your freezer after 48 hours without power. If your freezer is only half full, you need to throw things out after a day. Refrigerated food should also probably get thrown out if they're still in there without power. And remember, if you do lose power, keep the doors to your appliances closed for as long as possible. Well, demonstrations continue in Omaha over privatizing the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, this was the scene at 72nd and Dodge over the weekend. This is in response to the Trump administration looking to bring the Postal Service under the authority of the Secretary of Commerce. Letter carrier leaders say they are most worried about the impacts that could have on the general public.
There are places in the United States that would not receive mail anymore, frankly, especially in the rural communities. It would affect businesses and families all across this nation.
Well, the weekend rally follows one held last Thursday by local members of the American Postal Workers Union.
Well, Disney's latest live-action remakes at theaters.
Yeah, some of our thoughts on the film when we come back.
Well, happening today, it is National Cheesesteak Day.
So if you've never tried a cheesesteak, the ingredients, they're pretty simple. It's a hoagie roll filled with thinly sliced beef and melted cheese. I say that hoagie. Is that?
Yeah, you're close. You're there.
People often add onions on the sandwich. The cheesesteak has been a delicacy since 1930 when a hot dog vendor in Philadelphia came up with this idea.
And you always, if you're ordering them and you're in Philadelphia, you always want it say you want it wit onions or wit out.
Yeah, wait.
Is that right?
It's very important.
Oh, no.
Why?
Philadelphia slang. Hoagie. Hoagie.
What's the best way, with the onions or without?
I say with.
Yeah, I get them with.
You get them with?
Delicious.
I want to try it like the original, like from Philly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Disney's latest live-action remake opened this weekend.
Yeah, so hi ho to the box office we go. So White easily took the top spot at the box office this weekend, but it wasn't exactly a fairy tale debut. The live action remake opened with just $43 million, but that's a far ways away from its reported budget of more than $250 million.
Wow.
Whoa. The movie stars Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. There you go. Thanks for having me read that. As Snow White and the Evil Queen.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Okay, so we'll be honest. None of us have seen it yet, though Maria and I can probably share a little bit. There has been a lot of, what's the word, Maria? Bad mojo coming into this movie.
Yeah, discourse
surrounding lots of different things. I have heard from people who have seen it that Rachel Zegler is phenomenal.
Yeah, my mom
she is
saw
the
it
star.
over the weekend and she said the same thing.
She did.
loved
Okay.
If you don't know, Rachel Zegler is a phenomenal singer. She is incredible how she's able to have such a large range. So
Classically trained.
Yes.
Been on Broadway, the whole 9 yards. Really, really good.
So if you go see the movie, you're not going to walk away grumpy.
I don't think
Very
so.
good.
I hope
Very
not.
Good, Jared. Good
You'll be
job.
happy.
yeah, many opinions online, but I've heard some good things.
Yeah. There's a lot of new songs in the movie
Yeah.
too, because the original really didn't have too many when you compare it to like other Disney movies, maybe like Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid. So they added a couple new songs, and the ones I've heard, they sound pretty good too.
All right. And she knows, you guys, she's classically trained in opera, by the way. Has a beautiful voice. Yeah. So in case you're wondering, yes, she is our expert on these things. That's why we're asking Maria. All right. We're going to get ready for our update into today's show. Thanks so much for joining us. You can watch it here or over the air.
All right, have a great start to your Monday.
Live from WOWT, First Alert 6 starts now.
Good Monday morning, everybody. It is 7:26. I'm Cerise Cole.
And I'm Erin Hartley. Let's get an update on traffic this morning with Jarrett Lansford.
And a new crash to tell you about. This is at the 80 and 680 interchange, and it's on the ramp here as you're going from westbound to head to northbound 680. Watch for that. Seems like traffic is handling this in okay shape, but that's something you may come across if you're about to head into that direction. Also a crash, 24th and F area, and you can see some slowdowns that are showing up in this area. So another spot that you want to be watching out for some issues. Mostly we're moving along pretty well. We do have some delays eastbound on Dodge as you're getting around 144th to 168th. Keep in mind, a lot of schools back in session after spring break, so you've got more traffic out there. And you have a little bit of sun glare as some sun has broken through the clouds in the early going. So keep that in mind if you're an eastbound driver. Many roads, though, are moving along in pretty good shape as we get things up and running. Speaking of that sun, let's get a nice view of that because we're not going to see a lot of it today. There it is, beautiful sunrise that we're seeing out the door, and temperatures that are sitting right near the freezing mark, 33 where we stand. Also notable, almost no wind, especially after yesterday when those winds were very strong. We're trying to pull in some moisture from the north and west. I don't see this having a lot of success today, but we may get a couple of sprinkles by the time we get toward midday and into the afternoon. Nothing that you would need to cancel any outdoor plans over. And we'll end up walking ourselves up to about 61 for a high today. Even warmer weather on the way as we get later this week. Tomorrow a little breezy, we'll get to 66. 72 for Thursday, near 80 degrees by the time we get to Friday before we get some rain chances moving in as we head into the weekend.
All right, Joe, thanks. We're taking a live look at the OPPD outage map. At around 4,100 customers are still without power after last week's storm. The company expects to replace about 1,200 poles, saying this outage is the largest blow to infrastructure they've ever had.
I appreciate their hard work. It is 7:28, and we are back with another update in about 25 minutes. We'll see you then.